Hello, everyone. Welcome to MSG Data. I'm Idris, and in this video, we're going to be looking at the introduction to Python. Python is one of the most used uh, programming language out there, and especially for data science. So, my concern and my focus is on those people who actually come from a very non-tech background with very less or none of the programming background, and for them to get started with programming with Python and to get into data science. So that's why I'm hoping that a lot of people, yeah, who already have programming language, for them this video will be easy to pick up. But then I will keep keeping the pace as slow as possible so that all the non-programming or non-tech people will also be able to uh, get the best out of this video. So for that, you need to have first the Anaconda navigator, and to get Anaconda navigator, so what we basically need to do is to go. So I've already brought in my screen, so I will search Anaconda install. Okay, so go to Anaconda install. You can always follow up with this video because I think I'll be taking it as slow so that someone who's listening to it and then following up can really catch up with this video. All right. Okay, so I'm trying to make it as synchronous as possible. I know this is an asynchronous video, but you can still be on it. All right. Okay, so Anaconda distribution. Just click on this. Okay, I think you'll get something of this sort. When you get into Anaconda distribution, if you are using a Windows 64-bit operating system, I think you would come across this would be the perfect link to get started. So click on download on Windows. It'll install a 3.99 Python. So download and install Anaconda distribution. So once you've downloaded, installed Anaconda distribution, just keep going with um, the it'll be a regular installation. It shouldn't be a problem. If you really face any difficulty with installation, I'm actually also putting a link below for a tutorial video which I feel sort of useful to get the installation done smoothly. Okay, so once you've done the installation, I already have it installed, so I need to just go click on the search over here. And if I'm using a Windows 10, so yeah, pretty much you'll see the search over here. It says type here to search. Okay, let me search Anaconda. It's already showing there, but I'm just searching for you to follow. So Anaconda, just click on that. Once you click, you will actually open up this window. Okay, and this window really is it's a navigator. So basically, this is a console where you have many other softwares that you can actually access from. So, for example, VS Code is one such. Coding platform. There's so many coding platforms here. We have R Studios, one coding platform. Spider is another coding platform. PowerShell is another coding platform, so on and so forth. So what we require is either Jupyter Lab or Jupyter Notebook. So I have actually launched the Jupyter Notebook. It's a Chrome based or browser based. So I click on this. I would be directed to something like this. So it actually comes to this. I'll tell you where. Okay, so it comes to the root folder. So this is kind of my root folder here, and I'll get straight to the folder I really want to get into is this. Yeah. So this is a folder which I've created. You can actually create a folder here by just clicking on new and clicking on folders. You can make a folder. You can start a notebook from here. And yeah, so that's something that you'll have to figure out. But the files that we see here, that one, two, three, these three files can actually be found on my GitHub repository. So I'm just going to get into the GitHub repository, my GitHub repository, and so this is my GitHub, and if I go into the GitHub repository, okay, I have something called Python Basics, and on Python Basics, you will see these three files there. So if I just click on these files, I can open them here itself. So just to have a visual of it, I can even download the file from here. So that's what I want you to do. You can directly go download the file, and I'll put the description of this description or the URL on the description of this video. Okay, sounds good. Okay, let's get straight to the introduction to programming and the first file. In this video, I'll be hopefully covering like the 50% of this file. I think we'll be covering up to um, the variable names. Okay, so we will come to that. So the first thing, the first and foremost, for every programming language, what you need to know is we will at some point need to print something. Okay, so there is an inbuilt function called print. Okay, we can see that print, and you can print something. So let's say this is cell, so there'll be multiple cells. So let's say I'll go and open a new notebook, okay, just to show you how the visual is. So it's like this, when you start up a new notebook, you actually have a cell, and in the cell is where you're going to type. So there are multiple types of cells. So right now we have a code cell. So in this code cell, we're going to write the commands, right? The Python programming commands can be written inside a code cell, okay? But if you want markdown cell, for example, here you can just type just like a text. So this is my first Python program, and what you do to execute the cell is shift plus enter. Okay, I'm going to say shift left or right, shift whatever, plus enter. Okay, shift plus enter will execute the command line. Okay, cool. So I hope you got this. Shift plus enter executes the command line. But by default, I get a code. I get a code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print something. So I'm going to be typing here itself, so that, or let's say I'll go type it here. Yeah. So it's going to be easy for you to follow through. So I'll be actually switching between these two tabs. Okay, and probably I would want you to do the same thing. So when you're focusing on, so in one of the screens, try to have the data type file. It's actually a Jupyter notebook file. Okay, and on the other side, you can start typing on your own, right? Okay, so to change this, like to change this name of the notebook, I just have to go and click on over here, and I can change it. So I'm going to say first class, okay, notes, notebook, okay, first class notebook, okay, or class one or something like that, class one notebook, okay, cool. Okay, so we're gonna do print. Let's use the print function. Print. You see that the moment I type print, the color gets green. Okay, it's telling you something. It's basically telling that it's a function. Okay, I want to print what? Hello world, right? Yep. Sorry. Yeah. And shift enter will actually print hello world. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to print is a number. So in order to print a number, well, I need to just print a number without quotation marks. So when I'm printing some characters, I'm going to print it between quotation marks. It can be single quotation mark, or it can be a double quotation mark, as long as I have both quotation marks the same. So double double, single single. Yeah. Okay. So the next one is okay. So the explanation of print function is mentioned here. Print is a function. It outputs anything you put within the brackets to the screen when printing characters always start and end with quotation marks. Okay, so it can be either a single quotation mark or a double quotation mark. Always start and end with the same type of quotation mark. Okay, that's what you have to understand. Number can be printed without quotation marks. So as I told you, numbers can be printed without quotation marks. Okay, let's go to the next one. Comments. Okay, now we saw that there was a markdown cell. So we saw that there was a markdown cell. Okay, so while we cannot always have markdown inside a code cell, we can have comments within a code cell. So, for example, inside this code, I need to tell the person who actually is looking in this line to make him understand. I need to tell, okay, this is what I want from this line. So I'm saying I am printing hello. Okay. Now when I do this within a code cell, this part is not going to get executed. So I will not see it printing here. I will only see this printing. This is just for people to make people understand, right? So that's why usually when you write a program, you have steps. So in order to explain steps, you will have to use comments from time to time. Okay, so that's what they're going to say here. As programs get bigger and more complicated, they get difficult to read. It is often difficult to look at a piece of code and figure out what it is doing or why. For this reason, it's a good idea to add notes, and that's why we're putting a comment. Comment is in a computer program is intended only for the human reader. It is completely ignored by the interpreter. Okay, so in Python, the hash token starts a comment. The rest of the line is ignored. Here's a new version of hello world. So now pretty much what I told and what I wrote there. So this is complete commented, but this, if you see, is a code. They have not changed it to markdown. That's why you can print hello world here using Python. And yeah, so the comment is there as a calculator. So these are the different operators that we have, as you know, plus, minus. Okay, so multiplication, division, modulus, exponent, floor division. Okay, so this briefly, let's get into one of the each one of them. So we all know 2 plus 2 is, it'll give 4. And yeah, so I don't want to get into the basics, but yeah, so the one thing which is pretty it's a new thing probably for many of you would be the modulus. Okay, so what is a modulus? So modulus was basically will tell you whether a number is divisible by another number. Let's say for example 35 modulus, okay, 5. Okay, so would give me an answer 0, which means the the remainder of this equation is 0. Okay, so let's suppose I put 36 instead of 35. It's going to say is 1. So modulus 1 means it's not divisible. But if I, let's say 13 in this case would be the modulus I'm sorry, not 13, but let me make it 9, then 39. So it is going to give me a modulus of a 0, which means that 39 is divisible by by 13. Okay, but let's say I'm put 39 divided by 4, which is not divisible. It's going to give me 3, which means the remainder is 3, not 0. Okay, so this modulus will be used when we want to logically so understand if something is true or false. Okay, so we'll come to that. And so exponential, we need to have uh, two asterisks would make exponential. Flow division, so in order to put flow division, um, so let's say the same equation, I want to make it a flow division. Okay, so I put two backslashes, shift enter, it gives me 9. But if I have just 1, it's going to give me with the decimal. So the flow division is going to give me uh, the part of the answer which is before the decimal. Okay, and a normal division would give me after the decimal. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, So now the next one is that we can always print the numbers or the equation between the brackets, and that's what they're showing in here. And there are two types of numbers. The one with the decimal is called float, and the one without the decimal is called an integer. That's what is explained here. Numbers in Python. So there are two basic types of numbers in Python, which is integer and float. Int is stored as an integer, float is decimal points. Okay. Type function can be, so you can use a type function to identify. So I'll come to this because we have to touch on the variables first. So a, for example, in this case, is a variable. Okay, a variable is a name that is given to a data. For example, you want to store something, you have to store it inside the data. For example, let's say I want to know um, 2 plus 4, and the answer is 6. But let's say I want to assign 2 to a variable name and 4 to a variable name, and then give the equation of variable name of 2 plus variable name of 4. So in this case, I'm going to give a as a variable name for 2, and then b as a variable name for 4, and then I'm going to say the same equation. It's going to be the same equation. It's going to give me the same answer, but this time what I've actually done is I've given a as a variable name. So it's a variable name to a number. So I can change the variable number on the variable name, and it'll automatically change the result. So that's very important. So why we use variable name, instead of going and changing the numbers, just change the numbers on the variable name. Yeah, so we don't need to write the equation like this. You just basically tell, okay, a divided by b, and change a and b as an input or whatever. It can always change it. So variable names can be arbitrarily long. They can contain both letters and digits, but they have to begin with a letter or an underscore. Okay, so they have to begin with a letter. Yeah, you cannot begin with a number. So it has to begin with a letter or an underscore. Although of the words that cannot be used as variable name is also mentioned here. So there are reserved keywords in Python that cannot be used as variable names. Okay, so you have to understand false is, let's say for example, we type false equals to 3. I want to assign, cannot assign to false because it's oh it's a reserved keyword. Okay, so you have to understand that there are some which we cannot. But to be on the safe side, it's also not good to use anything that like becomes green. For example, type or print. Although you can use them also for as a variable name, I would always recommend. Let's say you want to print, you want to use print as a variable name. So uh, just use print and underscore abc, for example, and then use that as your variable name. Yeah, so it's better. It's better that way. Okay, so a good example here would be price of tea in China. So we can use underscore to separate a word from another word. So it's a very good practice. You cannot have a space. You have to have. You should have either without a space or with an underscore, which is pretty good. So you can easily understand what the variable name is saying. And then, so there are logical operators also in Python. So this is a logical operator. Double equal is means equals to, and then not equal with an exclamation equal to. So greater than, less than, greater or equal to, less than equal to. All of these are operators. So to understand, and they will actually give a result of Boolean value. So true or false is a Boolean result. So, for example, in this case, it says type of A not equals to B is a Boolean. So type is a Boolean. Okay. We have seen the two basic numerics. Python also has logical types. This type is called Boolean. Two possible Boolean values, true and false. So that's it for this video. I will catch you up in the next video where we will be looking into strings, lists, and tuples, also with dictionaries. So I think that will be a longer session. Thanks for watching. I'll be back in the next one. Goodbye.